Demi Lee, and today I'll be doing a review of the Smurfs 2025 movie. I know I'm not the target audience for this movie, but I did take my 6-year-old along and some family members, and we all agreed that the Smurfs sucked. After about 20 minutes into this movie, my daughter was begging me to go home, but we roughed it out, and I asked her at the end of it what she liked about the movie, and she told me the singing and the dancing. So you have this movie that is supposed to be captivating and entertaining and give this message of discovery and finding your self-worth and finding where you fit within a community and a sense of belonging. All of these good things that is supposed to come across, and you like the singing and the dancing. That's nothing against my daughter. Good on her for finding something good that she enjoyed in this movie, because I didn't enjoy nothing. I did not like this movie at all. And these are my reasons why. So let's talk about the plot. At the start of this movie, we are introduced to the Smurfs and come to realize that No Name doesn't have a thing, which in this movie is a purpose. You know, you have Brainy Smurf, who is brainy. You have Brave Smurf, who is brave, etc. No Name doesn't have a title. He doesn't have a thing. So he feels like an outcast in Smurfville. He wishes for magic to be his thing. Suddenly a magic book appears and helps him to do magic. Because he can't do it very well, he opens up this magic portal, which is like a wormhole for the evil wizards Gargamel and Razamel to track down Smurfville and kidnap Papa Smurf because they're trying to find that magic book. The Smurfs in Smurf Village then have to go on this rescue mission to save Papa Smurf, whilst also trying to find No Name his thing, because clearly magic isn't it. So that should be as simple as it is, and then we just make it entertaining and captivating, right? No, then we overcomplicate it with unnecessary things, beginning with characters. And I'm not talking about there being too many characters Smurf-wise. I know that there are lots of Smurfs in Smurf Village and they have their individual thing, get that. But there's other characters in this that just overcomplicate it. We have Ken, Papa Smurf's brother, who helps us on this rescue mission. He's got a whole gang of Smurfs in Paris. So we head to Paris first, and we have this live action scene, which again, I think is just completely unnecessary. We go through Paris. Live action. You've got dancing because we're at a club. We go to a club to find Papa Smurf's brother in the mirror ball. So you've got, you know, people drinking and people dancing. And I just think, okay, could we not have found a different live action place to be than a club for a kids movie? But all right, we'll run with it. We meet Ken and his Paris division. They did have a name. I can't even remember what it was. Anyway, they're not enough. Apparently we need other people to help us penetrate this castle and go get Papa Smurf back, right? So then we meet Ken's girlfriend, which is this cute little lady. She likes to collect things and eat cake, and she's got these little babies. They're just cute little fluffy things. I don't even know what they're called. Anyway, she lives, believe it or not, in Australia. So we then go live action again, animated little Smurfs heading to Australia. And you've got the outback, you know, very cliche of Australians with the kangaroos bouncing along and things like that. At one point, I think we're even in the pouch of a kangaroo hopping along for transportation purposes. And it was just like, again, is this necessary? But okay, we're still going to roll with it. We get to the castle. We've got the two bad brothers. Then we've got a henchman. On top of that, we've got 4 other villains who are holding the keys to the book. I just think this is way too many people for my daughter to remember, let alone care about. So that's my first gripe, that there are way too many characters in this and they really needed to cull back on that. The next thing I want to whinge about is how it looked. I talked about these live action shots. You've got the club, which I thought was firstly inappropriate and weird. Then you've got the Australian outback, again, just completely random that we're going to Australia. Thirdly, when we get to the castle, this is a live action shot of a castle. It looks like real life. And I don't understand why they're mixing the two. There's just no need for it. Like, it looks out of place. You've got Smurfette and the Smurfs who hitch a ride in an Uber, which I guess is a modern and relatable way to enter the castle, because kids will probably think, I get Uber and the Smurfs are getting Uber or whatever. So they enter the castle, and then when we get inside the castle, we are taken through a portal into a different dimension, and suddenly everything gets all weird and wacky, and we're going through wormhole, whatever they're called, portals, all these loops. We're traveling through time, we're traveling through space. It sort of becomes like Doctor Strange 2 we're in different dimensions and things like that. And it gets so strange that we go through different realms with the Smurfs. So you've got the clay realm, which is obviously when they first did the animation. And then we move on to the next one, which was a video game Smurfs, where you've got the Smurfs traveling and they got to jump up the block and, pop the mushroom or whatever it was. And then a different realm where they're all, floppy and things like this. And I'm thinking, I am so lost here as to what is going on. Are we picking up Papa Smurf? Where are we at? Because we're just going everywhere. It's so all over the place. And yeah, I was just getting really lost because it was really messy. And I'm thinking, this is over the top for me to watch, let alone a child. How are they following this if we're all over the place in all these different dimensions? It was really confusing. I felt like the ending was just as messy as all those parts in the middle there because we finally find out No Name has a thing. The first name sucked. I can't even remember what it was. It was really long, probably supposed to be funny, but it didn't land at all. The next name that he picked was Kick-Ass, and the sound effects guy blocks out ass, but obviously you know that they've said a swear word. So my daughter looks up like, oh, they just said ass, like, oh my gosh. They didn't stick with that name, obviously. And it just hit me now. I'm pretty sure it was Kick-Ass. I don't want to say I'd have to rewatch it to find out because I'm not going to rewatch it. But I think his name was Kick-Ass. And now that I think about it, I'm like, even that is a copy. Like, there's already a Kick-Ass movie, for God's sake. But anyway, he ended up deciding on whatever it was. So we went through this whole mission to find out that he can do magic and his name's going to be Magic Smurf. Like, it was just such a deflated ending. It didn't have like a kick to it. Now it kicks in my head because of Kick-Ass. Sorry about that. But it didn't have like a sting to it. There was no real punchline where you were like, oh, that's a good heartfelt ending. It was just like we went around in a big circle for him to find his name. We went on this whole big mission. It was just a waste of time, truly. It was a waste of time. I think my main irritation with this movie was the voice casting. So you have Rihanna as the main Smurf, Smurfette. I look at Smurfette and I think of a sweet voice. I think of very warm, a very sweet voice. And then I hear this voice. And not only does that not match what I'm looking at, that is partnered by James Corden, who plays the voice of No Name. So you've got these really strong, really identifiable accents, and they don't contrast each other very well. Oh, in fact, it's quite distracting. And I know that not everybody can have the same accents in movies, and it's good to have diversity and things like that, but it's really disconnecting. When I hear them accents with those characters, it just doesn't fit their character. A good example of something that does fit the character is John Goodman playing Papa Smurf. He fits the role. He sounds soothing and calming like a papa is. You've got Nick Offerman, who I love, who plays Ken. And it sounds like how Ken would be. Looking at that character, that voice matches it. Same with Ron. You've got Kurt Russell in there and that matches the voice. Rihanna didn't match Smurfette for me and it was disconnecting. And having such a strong accent like James Corden, contrasting each other, I would have picked other people. I don't know who I would have picked because honestly, I haven't given it too much thought, but that did not do it for me. I felt very disconnected just because the voices didn't match what I was looking at. So that was my gripe with the voice actors. The last thing I want to talk about is the appropriateness of some of the things in the movie. I mentioned before, we're going through a club to get somewhere, but the thing that got me the most wild and angry and disgusted was a scene with Gargamel and Razamel, the two brothers, and they're like, is that father's urn? And one of the brothers says something like, yes, I've been sprinkling dad's ashes into the henchman's drinks. Something along them lines, like basically saying he's putting their father's ashes into a guy's drink. The guy's been drinking their dead dad. What the fuck? Firstly, this is a kid's movie. I wouldn't expect that in an adult movie. What the fuck kind of joke is that? I'm sorry, but that's disgusting. And I was even more mad because I have ashes at my mum's house. My daughter knows that in that urn is my dad, right? So she looked up at me and she goes, are they drinking the dead dad? That's what my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter asked me, are they drinking a dead person? What the hell? Why should I take my child to see a kids movie and have to explain, no, that was a joke, honey. That's supposed to be funny, honey. That is not funny. I shouldn't need to explain myself. And I think that is totally inappropriate. I might sound like an old lady having a whinge here. I don't care. That's really strange to me. So it was those three inappropriate things where I was like, no, that's not it. So I'm sorry to report that I did not like this movie. Not even the awesome voice casting of John Goodman or Nick Offerman or my solo from Cobra Kai could save this movie. The Smurfs, sucked. I usually say at the end of my things, let me know in the comment section if you're going to watch this one, but I hope that you do not go and watch this one. So please just leave me a comment in the comment section anyway. And if you're not already, please make sure you're subscribed. And the link to all my socials is in the description box. So make sure you head there and give me a follow on them as well. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, take care. Bye.